So the lymphatic system has no pump. Unlike the circulatory system, the heart, which pumps blood all throughout the body, we don't need to do anything. That's an autonomic response of our nervous system. It is fully taken care of for us. The lymph moves throughout the body when we move our tissues. And in the course of our daily life, we move enough-ish to move the lymph around the body. But if you have a really sedentary job, which many of us do as our life revolves around this computer screen that I'm staring at here yet again today, and as I do every day, the lymph can get rather stagnant. As you saw in the previous diagram, we have a lot of lymph nodes that reside in our abdomen, and those lymphatic passageways are kind of interwoven amongst our internal organs. And so if we're sitting and maybe even slouching a little bit, we're inhibiting the movement of that lymph in the belly, in the groin, in the armpits. So it's really important that we move the tissues of our body so that we can move the lymph throughout the body. I said at the beginning of this webinar, I think before we started recording, that if I wasn't on camera, I would not be wearing a bra right now. I feel like the more I learn about the lymphatic system, the less inclined I am to wear any kind of tight fitting clothes. Not just a bra, but really tight pants, because if you think about how close the lymph is to the skin, every time we constrict that, aren't we constricting the flow of the lymph? It just seems to make kind of logical sense to me. So stretching also helps to support that. Like I said, the lymph carries those immune system T cells, which are rich in lymphocytes. They fight infection. They help to kill rogue cancer cells before they can start growing somewhere else. The lymphatic system is our filter. And the movement of the diaphragm also helps to move the lymph as we breathe. So those deep belly breaths that we took at the beginning of our time here together also help to move that lymph back out and around your body. And it is part of and affects all of the body systems. So the lymphatic system responds to the immune system. The immune system responds to the nervous system. The circulatory system, the respiratory system, all respond to the nervous system. So everything is really interconnected, and whatever we can do to support any of those systems is going to be beneficial for us. And of course, keeping your immune system strong keeps you better equipped to deal with whatever life brings your way, whether that is a physical stress, an emotional stress, a mental stress. And then one thing that happens, especially if you've had lymph nodes removed, is lymphedema. So lymphedema can impair the flow of your lymph even further, and it can be further impaired from chemo and radiation, surgeries, infections, things of that nature also negatively impact the lymphatic system. So then it becomes even more important to have that healthy flow. Some risk factors, even beyond our excess weight, that puts a lot of pressure and it taxes our lymphatic system. Hypertension, older age, which we can't do anything about, smoking, rheumatoid or psoriatic arthritis can also impact the health of the lymphatic system. I would stop for just a moment if anybody has any questions. I haven't seen anything come up in the chat. If you have any questions as we're moving along here today, please feel free to go ahead and type them in there. And if I can answer them as we go, I will, but I will also hold space at the end of this presentation before we do our practice for questions. So moving on here, lymphedema symptoms, pain or weakness, cyanosis or a blue tinge to the skin, numbness, tingling, what might be referred to as pins and needles, swelling of the extremities, especially in the feet and the ankles and the lower legs. Your limbs might feel achy or heavy. The skin might start to change in its appearance and begin to look a little leathery or become a little thicker. And you could have headaches, fatigue, muscle and joint pain, bloating. If you have any of these kinds of symptoms, be sure to talk to your doctor about that. And once you are getting the appropriate treatment for you, there are other things that we can do through our yoga practice to help support the lymphatic system as well. The lymphatic system defends against disease and foreign invaders. Like I said, the detox pathways include the kidneys and the liver, but also the lungs, the skin, and the colon. The tonsils and the adenoids, the spleen and the thymus are all part of the lymphatic system. And we have over 600 lymph nodes in our bodies, with the largest groupings being in the neck, the armpits, and the groin. So to support this, we can do gentle stretching, which yoga is all about in the asana part of the practice. That is the part of the practice that most of us here in the West are familiar with when we talk about yoga. It's all about doing your downward dog and your warrior poses and that kind of thing. And yes, that is true. Yoga consists of asana. But asana is only one of the 8 parts of the yogic path. So if you wanted to get a little bit deeper down that yogic path, you might embark in some yoga therapy or some yoga training to talk about some of those other pathways where you might find support. But when we do the gentle movements, we open those pathways and we begin to minimize obstruction. We kind of massage those lymph nodes a little bit. For our upper body, we can do things like just shoulder shrugs or cactus arms, opening and closing the elbows here. We can do kind of isometric squeezes. So a squeeze and a release, squeeze and a release. Lower extremities, bridge pose, many of us are familiar with, or pelvic tilts, hugging your knees into your chest, kind of massages the abdominal area as well as the groin. One thing that you can do anytime you have a lot of lymphedema in the lower body is to lay down on the floor and swing your legs up onto a chair or your couch or even up the length of the wall so that you can physically use gravity to help to bring the lymphatic fluid down out of your extremities and back to the lymph nodes where it can be filtered. And then yogi bicycles. A lot of us have done that where you lay on your back and you do those little bicycle moves. Well, as you can kind of visualize, as you move your arms and legs in this motion, you're moving the muscles, you're moving the tendons, you're moving the tissues, you're opening and closing the pits. All of that can be very beneficial. And then, like I said, we also detox through the breath. So breathing practices and pranayama are wonderful for detoxification as well as for relaxation and for bringing our nervous systems back into balance. And then there is abhyanga or self massage that we can practice as well.